those fur and bones pass from her first stomach into her second stomach. And then her stomach is like a trash compactor. It squeezes everything together out into what's called an owl pellet. And this owl pellet... Yeah, if you find an owl pellet in the woods, you can open it up and find the bones and fur inside, and that tells you what the owls have been eating. This is one of my favorite activities that I ever did in school, and I'm sure some of you guys have done it, and some of you are going to do it within the next couple years. And this is something that actual scientists do to learn about owls. She eats the eyes, she eats the teeth, she eats the brain, she eats the skull, she eats the whole thing. Well, maybe for us, but because we're not built to eat that.
And he bites more hard.
So, one of our rules, my friend, we need to sit. She needs to sit. I mentioned at the beginning that we do not call to my birds. And that is because when people see an owl, they like to say hoot. Well, guess what? Mitzi here doesn't hoot. The owl who eats her hoots. Which is this guy right here. This is known as the great horned owl. They make that hooting noise that we think of when we think of owls. So if we hoot, Mitzi here is going to think we're saying, I'm going to eat you. She has a different noise that she likes to say. Mitzi here likes to say, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? So she doesn't make that hooting noise. Sometimes people think that these owls sound like they're singing. So a nickname for barred owls is singing owls. They use this call to help find their mates. Owls mate for life, so they like to come and find the same partner year after year. But they don't hang out all year together. They meet up in January, and they use their calls to find each other. Once they find their mate, they have to go and find a nest. Owls cannot build a nest. They can't pick up sticks with their beak. So they have to take a nest. They might find a hole in a tree called a tree hollow, or they might find an abandoned squirrel nest, or an occupied squirrel nest. They take the nest, either that's abandoned or is occupied, and they use that for the spring. And they lay their eggs in February, which is before any other animal lays eggs. And that's because they want their baby owls to know how to fly by the time the baby squirrels and baby chipmunks are starting to explore the forest floor. The baby owlets will practice hunting on the other baby animals. Once they have raised their babies, the two owls say, "See you later," and they split, and they don't meet back up until January again. They only spend about 4 months together. But they will find the same owl year after year after year. Now, does anyone want to take a guess on how much Mitzi weighs? How much do you think?
Pizza?
40 pounds. How much do you think? She thinks that Mitzi weighs 128 pounds. She thinks I'm super strong. I like you. How much do you think?
20.
20?
12.
12? How much? 28 grams. You think that too? Mitzi here weighs 1.5 pounds.
Excuse me?
All of her size is her feathers. Her feathers help to give her all of her shape and size to make herself seem bigger and stronger and more intimidating than she actually is. This right here is a model of her skull. All of her size is her feathers. I have one answer.
How are they comparing by the same beat?
What do you mean, how are they comparing by the same beat?
Like, how are they the same?
Well, they're not. This is a model. So this was made out of like plaster. So this is just meant to look like her skull, so that we can use it for teaching. Does anyone else have any questions about Mitzi? All barred owls will be about this color. Different owls will be different colors though. So our barred owl is a different color than our great horned owl. A great horned owl is a different color than a burrowing owl. A burrowing owl is a different color than a screech owl. So every different kind of owl has its own colors that it might have. Mitzi here has been with us for 14 years, so she is at least 14. But she was an adult when she came to us, which happens at about 1.5 years. So she is probably a little bit closer to 16, we think. In the wild, they would live to be about 15, but in captivity, they live to be about 25.
25? 20 owls.
Yes, bigger owls will eat smaller owls. Pretty much across the board. She eats about 3 or 4 mice every single day, except on Sundays. She doesn't get fed on Sundays because in the wild, not all of their hunts are successful. So by keeping her from eating one day, that mimics a day where she doesn't catch her dinner. It helps keep her safe. Now, my friends, Mitzi is starting to pant, which means she is getting a little bit too stressed out. So we are going to put her back and we are going to switch to our next friend.